All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the Ventures podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about whether generative AI is going to widen or narrow the skill gap in the job market. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm actually doing a screencast as I've been doing the last few weeks here. You can click on the link in the show notes to get access to that video. And if you're watching the screencast, you can always switch over at any time and listen on your favorite podcast player. You can just search for Ventures, and it should show up. So I was talking about this with friends and colleagues recently, and it seems on one hand that the most skilled workers, at least right now, are able to generate a lot more productivity than lower skilled workers. So for example, I'm keenly interested, as you've been noticing if you've been following along this podcast, how generative AI can be used to just quickly get a web page up and running. And there's different services that I've featured and different sort of ways to hack it together yourself, asking ChatGPT a bunch of questions and such. And I found this YouTube video by CJ Gammon, and he's clearly an experienced designer, and he walks through this whole process here of designing a web page, and he uses Photoshop and he uses Figma and he does all this fancy stuff, and he teaches everybody how to do it. But he's able to use generative AI and deliver results many orders of magnitude than anybody else. And in fact, even if we've looked at GitHub Copilot before, but you have to have a base level of knowledge to know how that this is TypeScript, and that there's a you're at a place here where you have to give it this prompt, determine whether the sentiment of text is positive, use a web service, then AI can pump out what you're doing. So you're essentially become a more meta level manager of the AI, and then the AI do work for you, but you have to have the knowledge yourself of what is possible in order to ask the generative AI tools to do the things that you want it to do. So that was kind of the feedback that I got a few episodes ago when I built a startup, a simple startup from scratch. Because I've done this for almost 20 years now, I knew what prompts to ask it. I knew how to ask it the right questions in order to guide me in the process of building a technical startup. But if you don't know those skills yet, you're potentially significantly left behind. So these things together are telling me that at least in the short term, for this type of work, if you're already quite skilled at your knowledge worker job, you're going to be significantly more productive compared to those who don't even know the right way to guide the AI. Now, as a counter example, the National Bureau of Economic Research, this was very, very recent here this month in April 2023. They did a study where they took 5,179 customer support agents from a large tech company, Fortune 500 tech company, and they basically gave those agents generative AI, and they found on average there was a 14% increase in issues resolved, essentially productivity. But the interesting part here is that the greatest impact was on novice and low skilled workers. So essentially the AI gave us a set of prompts to those workers and allowed them to be more productive, whereas the more skilled people, it didn't actually help them that much because they were already very skilled. So this is an example maybe for this type of work, customer support agents, et cetera, that the lower skilled workers might be able to be even more, can be even more productive, and that would narrow the skill gap in the labor market, which would potentially be quite interesting here. So I also came across, just basically, if you're still wondering what the heck this generative AI thing is, McKinsey has a great article here that I'll link to, and I just want to finish this podcast with the reality. And maybe this ties into the theme here for today, that you can access GPT-4 for free with Microsoft Bing. You just have to create an account, and And what's interesting, I first asked it here, are you able to access the internet? And it gave me sort of an odd, it didn't quite understand what I was saying. But then I was like, well, what is the site Satchel.Works all about? Satchel.Works is where I publish my material. It's in beta. This is not it hasn't been publicly announced yet. And in fact, we're looking for an executive team. If you want to be a CEO or part of the operating team, definitely hit me up. We at Proto Ventures might be willing to fund this. So, but we're still in beta, but it was able to say ChatGPT. Bing Chat here actually has some different nuances to ChatGPT, which I think is kind of interesting. But yeah, it said according to the first result, and then it cites the result, which is neat. Satchel.Works is a newsletter and publishing platform that facilitates direct topic-specific communication between creators and their communities. So it pulled out the right information from the homepage. But then here's the cool part. It said, are you a reader or a creator or reader? What type of topics are you interested in? It allows you to basically follow up. So then I asked it, how can I apply to publish on Satchel.Works? And then it figured it out. It said to apply on Satchel.Works, you got to fill out a form with your LinkedIn. And then according to this second search result, which is pretty sweet, they're looking for a new generation of thoughtful creators willing to engage with their friends and friends of fans without trying to optimize an algorithm. So it accesses the internet. This is a very powerful AI assistant, and it does it in a different way than we've seen before. And then it prompts you. Have you filled out the form yet? What kind of content do you want to publish there? Yes, I have. I want to publish about philosophy and psychology. It just gives you these prompts. No, I haven't. I want to publish about health and fitness. So you can see where search and chat and LLMs is heading. And you could definitely see how you can guide this content if you already know a lot of skills, how to be even more productive. But it's going to be fascinating to watch more studies like this study from the National Bureau of Economic Research to see how it's helping different aspects or hurting different aspects of the labor market. All right, that's it for today. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You can, if you're interested in following along any of my written or podcast materials, you can just go to Satchel.Works or actually go my URL, wclittle.com, redirects into my Satchel site where you can see more of my works, subscribe to my newsletter, and follow along from there. All right, take care. Cheers.